I watched her laugh, that familiar tilt of her head, the flirtatious giggle that once pulled me in like gravity. But tonight, from the shadows of a dim booth, half a whiskey in hand, I saw it clearly for what it was: theater. The same performance she gave to whoever happened to capture her interest. Tonight, it was the man across from her, sharp suit, self-assured smirk, twirling his wine glass like he owned the room, like he owned her. Maybe he did. In my hand, the envelope felt heavier than mere paper should. Inside it, the end of the lie. No more charades of love. No more forced smiles. No more whispered "I love you" that meant nothing. Just the truth in ink. I watched her lean in closer to her date, their fingers brushing, her lips curling into that same rehearsed smile I once believed in.
Bold. Public.
Shameless. They sat in booth 17, our booth, where I had once knelt with a ring, where we'd toasted to 5 years, where I'd once believed in forever. I didn't react when the waitress passed. "Excuse me," I said, slipping the envelope into her hand. "Can you give this to the woman in the red dress?" Booth 17. She nodded, indifferent. Just like Rachel had taken my heart years ago, casually, without hesitation. I leaned back to watch. Her smile faltered as the envelope landed. Her fingers hovered, then opened it. Petition for divorce. I saw the life drain from her face. Her companion leaned closer, trying to console her, but I recognized the panic in her eyes. She felt me there, like a storm rolling in. I stood, finished my drink, and locked eyes with her. She knew who I was, knew what she'd done. I gave her a cold, distant smile, one that closed a door. She remembered then, I could see it. 2 months ago. She had said she was working late. Her phone had uploaded a photo by accident, her legs entangled with his in some cheap hotel, half-empty wine bottle nearby, his hand around her throat. That was the night she lost me. Tonight I made it official. She stood suddenly furious. "Jason," she hissed. Her date turned to me, cocky, like I was just a loose end. I smiled faintly. "Enjoy the evening," I said. "Drinks are on you. Call it a celebration." I left without a glance back, wanting the flames to consume them. Outside, the air was sharp, brisk. I lit a cigarette, first one in years. Betrayal has a way of reviving old habits. My phone buzzed. A message from her. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" I didn't answer. I let her scream into the void. Let her spiral. I had found something I hadn't felt in a long time: peace. The calls and texts kept coming, relentless, moving from rage to desperation to silence. I answered none. Not because I couldn't, but because I knew if I did, even now, some part of me might soften. That part had to die. I drove without direction, the city a blur of lights and memories. I found myself at the beach we once frequented, when things felt real. Her bare feet in the sand, her laughter carried by the wind. How much of that was ever genuine? By midnight, I was home. The house was still, dark, like our marriage had been for years. At 12:41 a.m., the front door slammed. I stayed seated. Let her find me there, calm, unreadable. "You're out of your ****ing mind," she spat, heels clicking sharply. "A divorce letter. In public." "Really?" I didn't look at her. "You seem to be enjoying yourself." "Don't do this, Jason." "I'm not doing anything. Just giving you what you wanted." She threw her purse, eyes blazing. "You don't even know the full story." "Oh, I know enough. I've got the photos, the receipts, the lies. How stupid do you think I am?" Her expression shifted. The fire went cold, replaced with something colder, calculating. "You are never enough," she said. "Always busy. Always tired. I stopped existing to you." There it was. The pivot. The manipulation.
Classic.
The last ember of love in my chest went out. "You could have been honest," I said. "I would have respected that." She smirked. "But you wouldn't have begged." That hit hard. I stepped back, the truth sinking in. I never truly knew the woman I married. "You're sick," I muttered and turned away. Her laugh followed me, sharp, broken. No one will love you like I did. I paused, looked back. God, I hope not. Later, I heard her crying. Maybe it was real. Maybe not. I didn't care. The indifference was freeing. By morning, her closet was bare. Gone like a ghost. I drank my coffee black again, like I used to, before her. My phone buzzed. A message from her mother. This must be a misunderstanding.
Talk to her.
Fix this. I didn't reply. Let them cling to their fantasies. I was done with pretending. That morning, I boxed up everything of hers. Not out of anger, just necessity. Old photos, notes, traces of a love that never truly existed. I didn't burn them. That would mean I still cared. I didn't. By midday, another message. Unknown number. You humiliated her. That was cruel. I knew who it was.
Her new man.
I stared at the screen, fury rising. But instead of lashing out, I wrote one line. Tell her to choose better next time. Then I silenced my phone. Let it all go. That night, I met Matt for a drink. My brother.
First time in a while.
I told him everything. He just nodded. I never liked her, he said. But you looked happy. I didn't want to be the guy to ruin that. I chuckled, bitter. Better now than 10 years and with kids, right? He raised his glass. We drank to that. The days after were lighter. Not painless. Just real. The grief wasn't for her. It was for the version of myself I'd lost in trying to love her. The man who bent too far, who apologized for things he didn't do, who disappeared to keep the peace. That man was gone. In his place, someone new was forming. When the court date came, I wore a charcoal suit I hadn't touched since my last promotion, the one she barely acknowledged. She arrived late, draped in a white blazer, playing the wounded party. Her lawyer beside her, unreadable. She gave me a glare sharp enough to cut glass. I felt nothing. The judge asked if we wanted to mediate. I shook my head.
No.
I'm settled in my decision. She rolled her eyes, whispered something to her attorney. I didn't care.
We signed.
We swore. We left. Outside, she finally spoke. Her voice was sharp, accusing. But I just walked past her. It was over. And for the first time in years, I wasn't playing a part in someone else's story. I was writing my own. So that's it. You're just going to walk away from everything we had, she said. I looked her in the eyes, calm and steady. We didn't build anything together. I built. You tore it down. Her jaw clenched, but she didn't speak. I turned and left, her silence trailing behind me like a shadow of the life I once thought we were creating. The days that followed melted into each other. But I didn't sink into sorrow. Old friends I hadn't heard from in years began to reach out. Even my mom, who'd never hidden her skepticism about Rachel but had kept her thoughts to herself, gave me a call. Sometimes it takes a wildfire to clear out the rot, she told me. Now you can grow something better. I held on to that. I started running again. Hit the gym. Ate better. Slept more soundly. I laughed again. I pulled out a forgotten journal from college, pages once full of hope and plans. Now they welcomed a new version of me. I wrote without filters, facing truths I'd buried. One line stood out more than any other. She didn't break me. She revealed who I really was. Weeks later, a package landed on my doorstep. No return address. Just my name written in her handwriting. I nearly tossed it. Curiosity won. Inside was a silver bracelet, something I'd given her on our 3rd anniversary. She once called it her favorite. No note, no message. Just an echo of a time that no longer mattered. I laughed. For once, a real laugh. No bitterness. I took it to a pawn shop, sold it, and used the money to buy a new pair of running shoes. Then, I booked a solo weekend away in the mountains. My first real trip alone in years. Surrounded by trees and clean mountain air, I ran, hiked, wrote. For the first time in a long while, I felt free. When I returned, I bumped into her at the grocery store. She wasn't alone. The guy she left me for stood beside her. She noticed me first, her face freezing for a second. He looked confused until she muttered my name. I nodded at them both and walked on. I didn't owe her anything. Not a word. Not an explanation. Not even a second glance. I'd stepped out of the role she cast me in. I wasn't acting anymore. I was living. She followed me out. Alone this time. "Can we talk?" she asked, her voice smaller than I remembered. She looked worn out, like someone crushed under the weight of her own choices.
Why?
I asked flatly. "I didn't think you'd move on this fast," she said. "Like so many do, hoping that line would undo the past." "You left me before I ever walked away," I said. "I'm just catching up." Her eyes darted, searching for a way back in. "He doesn't make me feel the way you did." I shrugged. "Then you made the wrong call." She tried again, something desperate in her face. But I stopped her.
No.
"You don't get to rewrite this. You lied. You cheated. You manipulated. I gave you chance after chance, and you lit them all on fire. Go live with what you chose." She didn't cry. Didn't argue. Just stood there, hoping I'd crack. I didn't. I left, my takeout in hand. That night, dinner for one tasted like freedom. Later, my phone buzzed. A number I hadn't seen in years. A message. "Heard what happened. Can't believe she did that to you. Want to catch up?" Ava. The one from college. The one who might have been the right person at the wrong time. We hadn't spoken in nearly 10 years. I'd heard she was married. Maybe not anymore. I didn't reply. Not immediately. Not because I wasn't curious, but because for the first time, I wasn't looking for someone to fill a void. I was learning to be whole on my own. The silence that followed felt strange, peaceful. Her chaos had stopped haunting my phone. No more sudden calls or emotionally loaded messages. Her absence didn't ache. It healed. Then came a certified letter from him. The man she left me for. Or used, really. He wrote that he'd uncovered the truth, how she painted herself as trapped, as mistreated. How she'd lied to him, too. She kept him as backup, in case I didn't crumble the way she planned. His note was short and full of regret. Said he never would have gone near her if he'd known. I didn't reply. It wasn't my burden anymore. Not long after, I saw her sister Emily at a gas station. She walked up carefully, unsure. "Jason," she said, "I know you don't want to hear from us." But I told her she was destroying the best thing she ever had. The night you sent that letter to the restaurant, I told her she deserved it. I met her eyes. This time, I saw something I never saw in Rachel's, honesty. She continued, "She doesn't cry over losing you. She cries because you didn't beg her to come back." That was all I needed. I nodded. "Thanks," I said and drove off. Something shifted deep inside. I hadn't just moved on. I had outgrown her. A month later, I booked a last-minute trip to New Orleans. I needed the noise, the anonymity, the color. I wandered the city's heartbeat, jazz bars, smoky cafes. One night, on a rooftop, I listened to a woman with unruly curls and a beat-up guitar. Her voice was raw, imperfect, but honest. She sang like her soul had scars, and I felt every note. Her name was Claire. We talked for hours. Nothing about love, nothing about pain. Just life. When I walked her to her car, she turned and said, "You look like someone who just got out of a cage." I smiled. "That's exactly how I feel." "I hope you never go back," she said, then drove off. I never saw her again. But that night, I felt more alive than I had in years. Back home, I boxed up the last traces of Rachel. Her forgotten coat, the perfume bottle hidden in a drawer.
Gone.
I changed my number. Gave it only to those who mattered. One morning, I drove past the bakery we used to love. Her car was outside. I didn't stop. Didn't even slow down. Just let the wind steal away the last fragments of the man who once begged for her love. Months passed. The silence felt safe now. My home didn't echo with absence. It felt like mine. One night, sorting through old files, I found a folder labeled Us. Photos, videos, memories I'd once clung to. I deleted them all. No hesitation. Like she never really belonged. I poured a glass of scotch, stepped out to the porch and wrote, not therapy, just truth. I wrote that I had loved her, that I gave everything I had, that I once wanted us more than anything. But I also wrote that she had poisoned it, through lies, distance, and betrayals. And then I wrote the lessons I earned. Never beg to be chosen. Never settle for scraps while someone else dines on your devotion. And never confuse loyalty with weakness. I folded the page, placed it in a drawer. A reminder, not of who I was with her, but of who I became without her. It began with a shared dinner. It ended with a truth-filled letter. And in between, a man lost everything, only to find himself. She can keep her lies and the wreckage she left behind. I have something she'll never touch again. Peace.